Can't find anyone. Spins away. Now Lawrence throws. Back of the end zone. Touchdown. It's Ridley. Lawrence steps up, fires into the end zone. Diving attack made by Zay Jones. Wow. And it's a touchdown.
Well, Laura, the Jacksonville Jaguars made no secret of the fact that their goal this offseason was to tie down Trevor Lawrence in a long-term contract extension. And Doug Peterson said at one point in time, it will get done, period. And in fact, it did.
Trevor Lawrence just made history breaking the bank and inking a record-setting contract. And in terms of the NFL, things just keep getting crazier and crazier. To me, Trevor Lawrence is a good QB, but many people have him outside of the top 10 and even top 15. But the Jags locked him up for a long time, and in order for it to be worth it, they need to not only make the playoffs, but they need to have playoff success. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about the Jags, everything that went down this offseason. I'm going to be breaking down some Trevor Lawrence film, and also what the outlook for this upcoming season is. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 30k subscribers, and we are so close. And with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. So yeah, Lawrence recently inked a hefty new deal that is going to set him and his family up for generations. But even more than that, he really helped a lot to set up the future of the QB market, because guys like Dak Prescott and CJ Stroud are about to get the absolute bag. But to get back to the topic of this video in the Jags, with Trevor Lawrence taking up so much of their salary for years to come, he's gonna need to perform like a top 10 QB in the league. So I want to take a look at some film from last season to see what he does good and what he does bad, and what he can improve on in 2024. So starting off right here, these are the type of plays that got Tlaw his contract. The running back is going to do a little wheel route, which leaves nobody blocking on the right side, and the defense gets a clear lane to get the sack, but Lawrence is just so elusive, and when he's on, he can find ways to avoid the pressure like this, and he just throws a dime to Calvin Ridley, who gets the touchdown against his former team. Next, this is a perfect throw from Lawrence. He put the ball up high where only Jones can get it, and this is what they call elite ball placement. And Trevor did a really good job of surveying the field and realizing that was his only play, because sometimes, especially in younger QBs with less experience, they will force a throw that isn't there into a super tight window, and it will get picked off in the red zone. Moving on, this is a part of Tlaw's game that often gets overlooked. Now, I'm not saying he's like a super mobile quarterback or anything, but when a play's not there and the field is open, he is not afraid to make a play for his team with his legs. And in this case, he did a great job of reading the blitz, and the O-line did a great job of picking it up as well. And immediately, he took off and avoided a hit going out of bounds for about a 25-yard gain. Next up, this is just another fantastic play design with Ettiene out wide, and usually running backs don't run all-out streaks, so the Steelers' defense was completely fooled, and both the corner and safety bit, so Lawrence threw the ball over the top for an easy touchdown. You just don't see this play often, and Tlaw and the Jags executed it perfectly. Here, this is another play that you have to be able to make to be a good NFL quarterback. And it's really nothing special, but you'd be surprised at how many guys fail to consistently make these throws. Just a perfect back shoulder fade, and Tlaw puts it right on the money, and shout out to the catch as well. But now I want to talk about some of the bad, because with Lawrence fighting through an injury last season, there definitely were some pretty bad moments throughout the year. This one right here, I'm sure most of us remember, his 4th interception in one half in this iconic game versus the Chargers. He just threw it up the middle of the field into a sea of white. Just not good. This one right here against the Colts is just an unacceptable throw at the NFL level. You can't overthrow a simple 10-yard pass like that right into the hands of the defense. It's kind of embarrassing to watch. So this season, Trevor really does need to get some of the turnovers under control, and really, he just needs to be more consistent. And I think he will be able to do so because some of the pressure is off his back with him already securing that huge contract. But at the same time, it can be a lot to live up to, so it goes both ways. Now to move on from Lawrence, I want to talk about the backfield. Travis Etienne will be the starter, and he will have Tank and Ernest Johnson behind him. As we all know, Ettiene has had an unlucky start to his career with injuries, but I expect him to have a breakout season. Last year, he had 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. And for the offensive line in front of him, last year, the Jags had a much maligned O-line. From a suspension to constant injuries, the offensive front was never really able to establish itself. As a result, Tlaw got super banged up, and both running backs also got injured. So basically, it completely derailed their season. This offseason, the Jags sought to bolster the offensive line and retain many of the vets. This unit isn't going to all of a sudden be a good O-line in terms of rankings or anything like that, but it did improve, and hopefully they can be around average or better. But health is definitely the main concern. Moving on to the receiving room, I'm honestly not that impressed, but they definitely have a quantity of average to above average receivers. Last season, Christian Kirk had 787 yards with 3 touchdowns. Those are definitely not #1 receiver numbers, so look for his production to improve. Behind him will be Gabe Davis, who had around 750 yards with 7 touchdowns. This may be a hot take, but I honestly can see him moving into the #1 receiver role by the end of the season. On the Bills, I just felt like he had so much untapped potential, but let me know what you guys think. Then at the #3 spot is Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU, so it will be interesting to see what he can bring to the table. And at tight end, it will be Evan Engram. Looking at the Jags schedule for 2024, they have an insanely tough start to the season, facing the Dolphins, Browns, Bills, and Texans. We all know going 0-4 will pretty much end the season before it even started, so the Jags have to split. If they can figure out a way to go 2-2 in this stretch, that will set them up to be successful for the remainder of the year. Let me know in the comments below what your expectations for this team are in 2024, and also what player you think will break out that I didn't really talk about. And before I end off this video, I need to talk a little bit about the defense. The defensive line is going into the year being ranked only 26th, but the defense as a whole should be much improved. They added Mitch, Morse, and Javon along the offensive line, and Arik Armstead, Maason Smith, and Jordan Jefferson to the defensive line. Like I said, the quantity is there, but did the Jags do enough to improve a front that lacked depth a year ago? The answers will likely vary. That's all I got for this one. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point in the video, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly means the world. Also, let me know what you would like to see next. Until then, I will see you all later.
The pieces coming together. Yeah. Is this Jags roster set up for Lawrence to take that next step next season?
I think it really is, Lauren. I know that probably sounds like the refrain we had last offseason, especially building off of that playoff momentum they had. They make the miracle comeback against the Chargers. They take the Chiefs all the way to the mat at Arrowhead, weren't able to overcome the eventual Super Bowl champs that season. Laura, there's all kinds of adjustments that we can talk about during halftime of a football game. And during the offseason, we've got a full 6 or 7 months worth of adjustments. The Jaguars' biggest adjustment this year is play better. If you look at this roster, where's the major deficiency on the offensive side of the ball? They made legitimate investments in the offensive line. Yep. Their wide receiver group was good on paper going into the draft, even with the departure of Calvin Ridley in free agency. And they took Brian Thomas Jr. Evan Engram had the 2nd most catches in a single season by any tight end ever. There's a lot of pieces in place for Trevor Lawrence. Last year, though, between blown protection, drops, and just unforced mental errors, I felt like this team left so many offensive plays on the table.